Okay, I think we'll get started. Okay, my name is Karen Redmond. I'm the Mayor of the town of Gawler. I'd like to welcome everyone here, staff, minute taker, elected members and acting CEO. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the land that we meet on tonight is the traditional lands for the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. So we have, now Councillor Solomon wanted a leave of absence. We'll leave that for the leave of absence. We have Ethan's not on leave. I don't know where Ethan is. Cody is on leave. Oh, here he is. Hello. Thank you, Councillor White. Cody Davies, Councillor Cody Davies, or Deputy Mayor Cody Davies is on leave. So I'll move through. I don't have any apologies. Motions to grant leave of absence. Yep. Who wants to go first? Just do it. Just put your hand up, Brian. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you, Mayor Karen. Leave of absence, please, for Councillor Hennessy, and it's from the 2nd to the 21st of January inclusive, 2024.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hughes. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Yes, Councillor. Yes.
I'm happy to move that there be a leave of absence for Councillor Solomon from Tuesday the 12th to Friday the 15th of December inclusive.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ballalonga. Thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So there's no non-attendance. Right. Now we move on to public open forum, and I will state the names of people in order. So I have Rachel Siapan. Is it Rachel? Is it Rachel? Yeah. So I've got Rachel. I've got Rachel Siapan. Is that you? No? That's you. So, okay, so Rachel Siapan, you go first. The next one is Adrian Shackley. The next one is Di Fraser, and the next one is Colin Teal, in that order. So Rachel, if you'd like to come forward, thank you.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for the time to hear our voices this evening. My name is Rachel Siapan. I'm representing my family tonight. We are here tonight to voice our opposition against the telecommunications tower. We live right across the street from where the tower is proposed to be placed. I ask if you could put yourselves into my shoes for these next couple of minutes and understand why we petition for the tower to be placed elsewhere. If you have read my letter sent to you all, you are all aware that my family have recently moved into this neighbourhood. When searching for a new home to raise our children in, the number one on our list was to avoid living in close proximity of a telecommunication tower. But to our dismay, 1 month after being excited to move into our beautiful new home, we hear of a tower proposed to go right up across the street. Your application for the proposed facility does not comply with the desired outcome of the Council's Policy Planning and Development Code, which I've been told is Policy 24 for infrastructure and renewable energy facilities. Efficient provision of infrastructure, networks and services, renewable energy facilities, and ancillary development in a manner that minimizes hazard and is environmentally and culturally sensitive and manages adverse visual impacts on natural and rural landscapes and residential amenity. We moved our family to this area because of the peaceful rural setting and beauty it has to offer. Since learning of this application, the unsettlement of our household and neighbourhood has been quite stressful. It is causing my family undue stress, sleepless nights, and we don't want to find out how it will impact our children if the tower goes up. We have community sensitivities in this part of Gawler East. My children do not want to play somewhere with a phone tower on it. They have expressed this very clearly to us as parents, the media, and the neighbourhood community. From what I've been told, Mr. Koshel left this portion of the land to be for community recreational purposes, not to deter peoples from the area. It is a naturally beautiful area. Let's keep it that way. The tower, being 25 metres tall, will be seen blocks away, at least to say. It will be seen right outside mine and my children's bedroom windows every day. We do not leave our house with our heads down. It will be seen very clearly. It will not complement the characteristics of the rural residential area that we have been waiting to move into for almost 2 years. It is of a modern character. Any visual barrier created will accentuate the tower. The vegetation is sparse at the park and oval, which is what we like to see as a part of the landscape while our children play at the oval and playground almost every day. This part of Gawler will not grow anymore. Land titles are capped at 2,000 square metres in this area. The tower is for the people in Springwood. That is where the growth is. There are many sites more suitable to the requirements of Springwood and future developments. For example, there is a large space behind the shops and in the old quarry where there will be no immediate developments, or petition the neighbouring hillsides for access to place a tower. Offering a choice to future residents and developers to live near a phone tower will create a better community outcome. Gawler East has great coverage already. We do not need another tower. Further, I wish to draw your attention to the fact that these towers do emit radio frequency radiation, which is a Class 2B carcinogen and is hazardous to humans and the environment. Being in close proximity of these facilities deplete health. Again, I urge the Council to reject the application. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rachel. Next is Adrian Shackley. Thank you. If you can just turn that on.
Start again.
There you go.
Thanks, Mayor, councillors, council staff. This is a presentation relating to the draft heritage standard for Church Hill. And in order to cover some of the points, I circulated a letter effectively to councillors earlier today. That was put together in a bit of a hurry after a meeting of the Committee of the Friends of Church Hill Heritage Area last night. So there's a few things in there that aren't in there. First of all, I just have to say that I think the consultation process relating to this draft standard's basically been a failure to date. And I think that's, like none of the people who are on the committee that met last night or on that committee have actually participated in the public sessions that was set out. They were all over the place and couldn't get there. And I don't think that will be a surprise for a whole lot of other people as well. So, it's not just the fault perhaps of Heritage SA, but I do think they should have been consulting with council staff and indeed with council generally to make sure that the process worked, not just do it off their own bat. I mean, we don't see them from one part of the year to the next mostly. I mean, there are a couple of reasons why residents in the area are probably a bit reluctant to get involved after the experience of a couple of major development issues over the last 2 or 3 years, where I think it's fair to say that the view about Heritage SA's role in those processes has been pretty critical from the point of view of quite a few of the residents, and in particular the more recent, including the more recent one involving a change of use of the building in Churchill, where the Heritage people basically said, well, it wasn't an issue for them. Well, that's very surprising to me. So, I think things need to be run better. Just noting the council officers' report as well, I think there's a couple of good points, additional points in there that I'd like to suggest. I think council needs to update its submission as well. I don't think it's appropriate that the council at this stage puts up a submission that says it's endorsing the draft standard. In particular, the comment about ongoing consultation. It's not a good process if comments wherever go into the Heritage SA and then they come out and produce a final document. That's just not right. When they come back at some stage with a revised document, that should also be subject to further consultation. And that point's made in the council staff report to council as well. And I think it needs to be stated clearly in any submissions that go in that that's an expectation. The Churchill Management Plan took about 4 years to put together between council, councillors, heritage people and residents. Now, sure, that was a new process, so, it took longer than you'd expect it to now. But, it's an important process and there's a whole lot of issues that need to be thought through, quite a few of which are not in a current document or certainly not well presented. So just a couple of things that aren't in the letter that I circulated. I think broadly for a standard, the wording of the document is pretty loose. If you're telling people here's a standard, these are the requirements, you'd expect something fairly definite about what you should expect and what you're allowed to do. There's a fair bit of vagueness in some parts of it. One of the other issues that we had a lot of issues dealing with when the management plan was being discussed about 30 years ago now was the issue about side and rear fences. Believe it or not, a third of all the properties in Church Hill have properties that front 2 roads, at least 2 roads, so that you have a back and a front. And it's quite confusing when you talk about front fences in a document if in effect the access to the house is from the rear. So in Finnis Street, for example, we have houses that look south, so that's the front, but people, because of the topography, people access it from Finnis Street, not from Jacob Street. So you've got a major issue there about describing what's a fence, a front fence and a back fence. And that's just ignored completely in this current document. And in addition to that, about 15 of those properties have triple fence exposure. So they're on a corner of 2 streets and a 3rd street. So all of those properties have an additional issue with how fencing, side fencing, so-called rear and front fencing works. And you need some guidelines for that. It's not something you just make up on the spot, because if you have a look around, you'll see these pretty inappropriate fences that are just blank fences occasionally along Finnis Street and Jacob Street, where there's no visual. It just blocks the view completely. Now, some of them are quite old fences. I'm not saying they've been approved recently, but that issue needs to be thought through. The issue about delegations, which is raised in the council staff document, also needs to be clarified and at least explained as to how that might work. That's completely unclear in the document. And the issue as well that's in the council report about, a regular process of updating and refining the document, including with public consultation, is an important process as well. I mean, things do change. You can't just have a document that stays the same and expect it'll do the job in
30 seconds,
10 years'
Adrian.
time. Okay, so thank you. So the proposal from our committee's point of view at least, is first of all that the period of consultation needs to be extended to a significant degree, we're saying at least to the end of February, and a public meeting with council staff, Heritage SA staff and residents actually occurs as part of the process. This idea that you just sort of fill in the computer form and you talk to, it's all this one-on-one stuff that doesn't allow anyone to really get a handle on the issues. It's a diabolical process, and it's set up to preclude sensible discussion amongst, the people who are supposedly being consulted. I don't think there's any other explanation as to why it's being done. So thank you. I think I'll leave it there. Any questions? Happy to.
Thank you, Adrian. I might go to Di Fraser. Any questions for Mr. Shackley? Any questions for Mr. Shackley? Yes, at the end. Di Fraser, you want to talk about the street parade?
Okay. Mayor, elected members and staff, the last time I came here, I came to object about the council funding the street parade. I'd like to say that I was wrong. It was an amazing event. I was absolutely blown away, as I'm sure anybody that went to it would have been. And it wasn't just with the sheer number of people that were there to see it, but it was actually the organisation of it as well, and the number of participants, as in community groups and businesses that actually got involved with it. It was an absolute credit to the town, and I just like to say congratulations. I understand that I didn't go back to Apex Park, and I understand that they ran out of food and drink.
They did.
But I'm sure that's more to do with the number of people rather than bad organisation. So once again, congratulations.
Thank you, Di. Colin, to you.
Good evening to the Mayor and the councillors. I'm here as one of the residents of the Gawler East Tower situation. Tonight there may be various amount of conversation in regards to the proposed telecommunication tower on Hannaford Grove, but my question is more about the how, and how has this been planned out? My information is that the Telecommunications Act 1997 allows for mobile carriers to perform certain maintenance and installation works without requiring consent. New towers do not fall within these exemptions and will require council approval, bringing to me to a disturbing, interesting and frustrating point. In approximately September, October, I approached workmen on the reserve at the exact proposed site location, questioning them on their activities. I was told they were not able to speak to me about it. While I stood there, they stopped work. The observation by me was they were marking and drilling with industrial machinery into the ground behind the boundary fence. There, since also has been long-term on-the-ground markers, and on the 27th of November, there were aerospace engineers on the exact site. Knowing the local TC Act exempts tower maintenance and installation works from occurring without permission, how have the events occurred? The construction of buildings on community land requires community consultation. The community consultation process of the submission closed on the 27th of November, long after the GeoWorks had been undertaken. As a resident of Gawler, who elects council members to represent me, whom I pay rates to provide services, whom I put trust in, elected members to follow legal processes, I ask you genuinely to explain, how did they gain access to a lock gate to undertake GeoWorks on community land for the potential installation of a tower? That cannot happen without submission and approval, all before the submission went live and consultation had begun. Also, my wife is in the remission from leukaemia, and we bought at 1A Marion Drive, Gawler East, of the land, and no power lines, towers which will emit some radiation. Also, I would like to take note of our letter of objection dated the 28th of November. Also, I worked with Mr. Koschel and his wife on numerous occasions, and he always said, this land will be a recreational piece of land for the Gawler East residents. He said, I'd like it to be a showpiece for the Gawler East people, and it could be used for many sporting, social activities and the like. And I feel sure if he was here today and heard that a tower was going to be built on that piece of land that he gave to the council, he would be very disappointed. Thank you.
Councillor Shanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I just thought it might be timely, given we don't have a report in this agenda about that item. I was just going to ask through you, Mayor, if we could have a little bit of a quick process update in regards to the tower and the process moving forward, when we might see reports come to the elected body to CAP, etc. Just as a quick update to take the opportunity while we have people in the chamber.
Who'd like to answer that? Eduardo, would you like to answer that? You need a microphone. Yeah, you go up to the microphone.
Thank you, Mayor Redmond, councillors. The application is still under assessment. A report is currently being written. The due date for that to go up before the council assessment panel will be the 11th of January meeting of the CAP body. That's the...
What date is that?
11th of January.
11th of January. Okay. Keep going, Eduardo. No, we're not going to ask questions. Keep going, Eduardo.
Okay. Sorry, Mayor Redmond, what was the other follow-up question?
The process to date.
Okay.
And I think the question was around, you know, what powers do the telecommunications bodies have?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Redmond. The powers under the Telecommunications Act are Commonwealth powers, so no approval from council or state government is required for them to take out geotechnical investigations. With regards to, I guess, the actual activity on the reserve, that is one I believe would be one of a permit to council to actually enter onto the community land to undertake whatever preliminary investigations they might want to do. I stand to be corrected maybe by one of the senior management here, but that's a separate process altogether, just about access to a reserve to do that activity. My understanding is that all the geotechnical investigations that they were undertaking are completely exempt from our control.
Okay.
So with regards to the process...
So they can just walk onto any piece of land they like?
No, under the legislation, they need the consent of the landowner to do so, I believe.
Oh,
Whether
right.
that's private or public. As I say, I stand to be corrected, but I think that is the case.
So did they get consent?
That is one that I would hand over to perhaps senior management with regards to ownership of
Right.
council assets.
Can you? Okay, we can take that on notice, that question on notice. Any other information that you can provide?
Only that we have received numerous representations through the application process, which is obviously running separately here.
Yeah.
And in that application process, which is under the State Planning Act, the Planning Development Infrastructure Act, we don't have regard to any of the Commonwealth legislation and the activities that are occurring in the background. So put quite simply, the application was lodged with us, and on receipt of sufficient information, we then processed the application, did an initial assessment, found out there was enough information to go out to the general public, and commenced the public notification. And of course, that has since closed, and those representations will form part of the package that members of the CAP will consider on the 11th of January.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Koch? That addressed, I think, yeah. I'll go to Councillor Koch.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Through you, Mayor, I just want to know that why it's going to the CAP before it comes to council to get permission to get a lease. I thought it would have been the other way around, because in the community's eyes, it might be, if it's approved by DAP, it's a fait accompli that it would have to be approved by council. So I'm just wondering why it's going to the DAP first and not going to the owners of the land, who should be giving permission in the first place.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, once again, we're dealing with two separate pieces of legislation that are the head legislation that are driving, I guess, what's happening here. The CAP is operating under the Planning Development Infrastructure Act and regulations. And the deciding body is the CAP. It's not council. The actual issue of the lease is a matter fully before council, and that's running under the Local Government Act. Now, there's no, under the PDI Act and regulations, there's no requirement for council to, or any landowner to give its consent for a development application lodged on its land. So theoretically, a developer could actually put an application forward for any piece of land without the owner's consent.
Another question, Councillor Koch?
Just a comment. I mean, I've been around developers a fair bit, and I know that they use the DAP approval as leverage on councils to get their approval through. Because they say, oh, well, the DAP's approved it, blah, blah, blah. We've gone to community consultation, blah, blah, all this sort of stuff. And then that then creates leverage on the council. And then all of a sudden we get, well, we'll take you to court. I mean, I just think it's a bit back to front, you know, that we're actually going to go to the DAP first. And you're not talking to the owners of the land, the community, before we even go through that process. I just think it's back to front. And I think the community will probably think it's a little bit cynical, I think. Thank you.
Any comment, Eduardo?
No comment to make. That's
Okay.
just a statement.
Thank you. Councillor Shanks?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just be quick, and thanks, Eduardo. It's been good trying to clarify some of those processes. So hypothetically, let's put in a situation where there might be a recommendation because it ticks all the boxes on an Act level, a PDI Act level. But then the discussion is to come to the Chamber about a lease opportunity and it doesn't tick our boxes potentially, or it does, whatever. But if we get to a decision where we say, no, we don't want to enter into a lease, where does that leave the actual process if a deal can't be struck in actually entering into a rental of our land, even if it does tick a planning series of boxes?
Thank you, Councillor. My belief is that, understanding that there are two possible scenarios here. One is if the council has made a decision and doesn't grant the lease, the application essentially becomes hypothetical. They can't carry it out. That's then, once again, can be overturned. The other option for the Telecommunications Authority is to make a case that there are no other viable sites for that tower to occur, to be placed on. And I believe that they would approach the telecommunications ombudsman or the department in that matter. If they can convince the Commonwealth Department that there are no viable options, they have an ability to basically force the location of that tower on council land.
Are you saying that they can acquire the land? Is that what you mean?
I don't believe that they can acquire it, but they can declare it an essential piece of infrastructure.
Oh, right, I see.
Of national infrastructure, and therefore, I think, bypass the refusal of council. That's probably something that we should investigate further at this point.
Oh, okay, thank you. Any other questions for any other speakers? Yes?
I have a question for Mr. Shackley regarding the Churchill area, if that's okay. I'm happy to wait if there's other questions regarding the telecommunications tower.
We'll go to Mr. Shackley now. Thank you, Eduardo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eduardo. That was very helpful.
Thanks, Mr. Shackley, and everyone for coming to speak this evening.
Just turn your mic on, Adrian. Turn your mic on, Adrian. There you go.
Thank you. I just had I've just had a quick read through your letter now and just unpacking your public open forum. In the sense of your role with the Friends of the Churchill group, what, I guess specifically, you've read Council's draft submission to Heritage SA. You've sort of explained that there's concerns and stated that the groups, really would like to see that deadline extended. I guess I'm just trying to, more specifically, is there specific parts in that document that the group is really opposed to? Because we had a meeting with the people from Heritage SA and they came out and gave 2 community in-person forums, and they reassured us that they're simply translating the bulk of what the existing standards are into an updated format that's going to be a bit more universal for others.
So your question is?
I'm getting there, just a bit of context.
Just put your question.
Okay, Mayor. So what specifically, either yourself personally or the group, are opposed to within the draft standards by Heritage SA?
Thank you, Councillor White.
Well, could I refer you to page 2 of the letter, points 1 to 9.
Which page, Adrian?
Second page of the letter. Point 10 is about changing the heritage area. That's not a matter for the standard as such, but it could be. The rest of the points there are dealing with concerns that were discussed at our committee, and I'm passing them on to the council. There's a whole lot of concerns in there. I mean, just the first part of the document dealing with history is just littered with errors. I mean, I'm not going to list them all, but I'd say there's 20 odd at least. And then there's wording in there that's just inappropriate. Words have meaning. If you use words, like particularly quoted in there, there's one about something being visually dominant. It is an absolutely useless term. You can't, like if you're putting a new garage on the front, near the front of an old building, and the rule is it's not to visually dominate the system. Well, it couldn't in a physical sense, so it's a meaningless term. I mean, it could be a very bad development, but still pass that test. So it's got to be a better test than that. We had the Churchill Management Plan. This document's quite different in several respects, particularly in not being very friendly to people reading it. It's a technical, almost jargonistic sort of document that architects might understand. There's not much help in a document that's meant to be understood by the public. It's not good enough. So that, there's a whole lot of language issues in there that you need to deal with, and then it's just some, basic things that are. I don't think no information about this issue about double-ended fencing problems. The document says that the average or the roof pitches in Churchill are between 30 and 40 degrees. I can tell you that's not right. They're between 25 and 35. If you can find one that's 40, I've got a chocolate for you. And there's a lot. They're nearly all at the lower end, not the higher end. So, you know, that's just stuff in there that hasn't been checked.
Yep.
No, thank you, Mr. Shackley. So has the group given their own submission to Heritage SA outlining all of these concerns, or is your case, I guess, there's so many that you need more time?
Well, I think we want some guarantee about what's happening with this process, frankly. I mean, I think there should be a proper consultation with council, with residents, which involves council as well. You don't do that in the lead up to Christmas. It's just crazy. It's a no-no. And then a process that also says, you know, well, we're going to work through this. There'll be some iterations of this document. There will be. We don't just want it to go back to Heritage SA and then they sign off on something and say, oh, thanks very much for your consultation. You know, it's just inappropriate. So, you know, the main issues at the moment, I think, are process ones. I mean, we can make a submission, and we will, no doubt, but we will be strongly objecting to the process. And we've also now contacted through Tony Piccolo, the Minister's office, to express the same views. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. And hopefully the council will do the same thing because, you know, you need to get these things right.
Thank you. Any other, yes, questions?
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
we've heard a passionate from Rachel and Colin tonight about this tower business. The first time this council elected members have heard from Ed Waco about what he said tonight. If there is anybody in the gallery, and they've come out all from the Hemmerford area and Coastal Estate area, that didn't put their name down to say a few words, is it possible to allow anyone else to ask any other questions? Because
No.
what I found that Ed Waco has said is total news to me, and I'll guarantee every councillor here it's total news to you.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Councillor
no.
Paul Kosh is a very passionate person living in the area.
I won't.
This is serious stuff because it was donated by Cyril Koshel never to put a commercial thing on that property.
Yeah.
The thing was done right, word from the word go wrong.
Yeah, I realise that. No, thank you for those comments, Brian. Any other questions for any speaker? No? Okay, thank you. I'll move on to, we do have a presentation, recognition of service for the Gawler Road Safety Group volunteers. Is anyone here from the Gawler Road Safety Group volunteers? Oh, come forward. Come forward. I do have a speech. Just come forward. Thank you. The Gawler Road Safety Group, run by volunteers, was formed in 2002 to promote road safety awareness and work to improve driver behaviours. The group has announced its intention to disband due to difficulties in securing new active members, and on behalf of the town of Gawler, I would like to thank members of the group, past and present, for their service. The group has served the local community through managing speeds with the variable message sign speed trailer, installing 50 km/h stickers on bins within local streets, providing input to council on road safety projects, attending events regularly to promote and improve local awareness of road safety. The group would like to recognise and thank all their sponsors over the past 21 years, Taylor and Forgie Funeral Directors, Riddell and Riddell Lawyers, Gawler Caravan Centre, McAllister Family, Fund My Neighbourhood, Gawler Community, Bob Jane, Dynamics Signs, Gawler Body Works, Northside Chassis and Suspension, and the town of Gawler. Would anyone like to make any comment? Any of the volunteers that are here tonight? Anybody like to say something?
I'd just like to say thank you, Council, for this acknowledgement. Yes, there's been many members over the years, and unfortunately many of them have passed away. So it is with great reluctance that we have decided to not exist. And can I say about the trailer, what we're doing?
Yeah.
So what we had decided to do, we approached the council, who is actually taking over the speed trailer, which was funded by many of the community members that you just spoke about. And so it was important for us to that stay within the community. So Gawler Council will be taking over that, so you'll still see it on the streets. We had also, we're quite financial, so we had decided to ask the council if they could then set up a trust on behalf of us where local residents could apply and receive a grant, a road safety grant for road safety initiatives. So we would still exist, but perhaps in a virtual form through the council rather than us running it.
I'd like to present a certificate of recognition to the current members of the group, and that's you, Deb Wyatt, founding member, Betty Locking and Howard Locking, who are here tonight, joined soon after the group was formed in 2002, Janet Doan, Simon Carpenter from SAPOL. I also acknowledge current members who couldn't be here tonight, Rhys Davies, and SAPOL representatives Deborah Lukens and Gary Wills. So what have we got here? Certificates for each and every member? Yep. Give them to me. Right, I'm coming over here.
Across the threshold. We'll just take it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well done. 21 years of good service.
Thank you.
Well done. Shall we? Yeah. I think the Gawler Road Safety Group have done Gawler a fantastic service over 21 years, and I think it deserves another round of applause. Well done. Okay. Yes, Brian?
Thank you, Mayor Karen. I certainly endorse that. I think one of the big things when a community group of volunteers come out and do what they've done to try and save lives around the town, slow the cars down and all that sort of stuff, I think what you've done is introduced a number of things, and one of the things that I believe really works is the 50 km/h signs that are actually on the rubbish bin. And I maybe would like to see that sometime we could ask them to come along and just have a general chat of what they did achieve over that time, because it was a great group. I mean, Howard Locking getting out of bed at daylight every morning to go and put that sign around that tells you how fast you're going. I mean, that helped my Mustang because I knew my speedo was wrong. But it's a matter of knowing what they did, how they did it, and see if we can actually get part of it into the future. And I'm talking about maybe getting Norma to put 50 km/h on every rubbish bin around the town. So once again, thank you to a great volunteer group that did so much for our town.
I thoroughly support those comments of you, Brian Sample. Okay, So we're going to move on to deputations, and first is Jonathan Robran talking about Operation Flinders, and next is Tanya Ramsey, proposed telecommunications tower at Hemmerford Grove. Okay. So we have some sheets that Jonathan's going to talk to. So if you want to put them in front of your, and we can. You've got the floor, Jonathan.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor Redmond. Thank you, councillors, for the opportunity to present on the Operation Flinders program. I understand a video was also sent to the councillors, so thank you for sharing that information as well. I'd like to talk to council about our program, Operation Flinders, which works with young people from all around the state, and the potential partnership with council in terms of supporting young people and supporting Operation Flinders in the process as well. Our program has been running since 1991. During that time, 9,500 young people from all around the state have had the chance to experience an Operation Flinders program, which is known as an exercise, which is the footage that you saw on the video. Essentially, our program works with young people who have challenging backgrounds, who may have difficulties at home, in their school or in their communities. And our core program in the Flinders Ranges runs over 8 days, where young people have the chance to challenge themselves, to undertake a number of different activities that are designed to build confidence, leadership, resilience, ambition. So by the time the program's completed, young people finish with a renewed outlook on life, perhaps a more positive future for themselves, and a renewed sense of self-belief through their involvement in the program. Since 1991, as I said, over 9,500 young people have participated, and the core program is run in the Flinders Ranges for young people aged between 13 and 18 years. The footage that you saw on the video is known as one of our exercises. We run 5 exercises each year. Each exercise has around 80 to 90 young people who are referred from different schools and different youth agencies from all around the state. And they're young people who are identified as having a number of risk factors. And those risk factors could be disengagement from school. It could be potentially involved in antisocial behaviours. They could have experienced trauma in their home environments. They could have been undertaking behaviours that may lead them potentially down a path of a negative influence as well in the community. So the risk factors vary for each young person, and the young people are identified by their schools to participate in the program. We don't actually get involved in the selection process. Young people, or males, are about 60% of the total number of participants, female about 40%. Young people of an Indigenous background are around 15% of the total number of referrals. And we work, or we take referrals and schools from literally all around the state. Metropolitan Adelaide, regional centres, remote centres will nominate their young people. In Gawler particularly, we've had for the best part of 15 years, if not more, referrals or schools from the Gawler and District College. Trinity College have been involved for a number of years, and also the Xavier College have been involved previously, and they're going to nominate a team of young people to participate next year as well. So over that period of time, 15 plus years, we've had well over 200 young people from Gawler and the region participate in our program. The program itself is 8 days. Young people walk about 100 kilometres. They're involved in a number of challenging activities, abseiling, a high ropes course. They learn about Indigenous culture, and those activities are designed to engender confidence, trusting adults, overcoming fears, respecting elders, respecting the environment. So values, lessons that are applicable in the Flinders Ranges can be applied to the young people's lives in the future as well. We see the storming, norming, performing behaviours over the 8 days, particularly early. The first 2 or 3 days it can be quite challenging for the young people. They get used to the walking, they get used to the environment, they get used to carrying their backpacks, and by the end of the program we've literally had young people hugging, crying in tears because they've had such a really positive, powerful, respectful experience over the 8 days in the Flinders Ranges. Upon completion, every young person who completes the program receives SACE recognition. So there's educational outcomes through their involvement in the program. There's the personal development, the learning, but there's also the SACE recognition through 20 Stage 1 SACE credits that every young people deserves and is awarded upon completion of the program. The benefits for the young people: building confidence and self-esteem, learning the concept of goal setting, understanding the value of teamwork, accepting responsibility for their actions, being led by positive role models, reinforcement of acceptable standards of community behaviours. We also provide a range of follow-up programs and activities to the young people when they complete the 8-day exercise, which is one of the documents there. A certificate to an outdoor recreation we offer, which also provides further SACE recognition. We help facilitate the Duke of Ed Youth Leadership Award. We run an employment pathways forum once a year, and young people, after undertaking a number of training weekends with us, can go back as a peer group mentor, can go back and do the 8-day program all over again, supporting new teams. And we have a number of young people engaged in that program as well. The reason for my presentation to Council tonight is to seek support, to seek interest, to seek potentially some funding to help sponsor a team of young people from the Gawler region on our program next year. We also have a presentation post-program where young people can receive their certificates, and Council are involved in that presentation as well.
I'll give you 30 seconds.
Fantastic, great timing, because I'd like to conclude with a story about a young person from Gawler who went on our program many, many years ago. I've been involved for a fair while now. This young lad went through the program. He had a lot of anger issues. He was very much struggling at school. He went through our program. He went back 8 times as a peer group mentor, back up to the station all over again. I was out in the field with him one day on one of these exercises, and we were sitting around the campfire one night after everyone else had gone to bed, and we were just chatting, and I remember it as vividly as it was yesterday. In the absolute honest truth, this young lad said to me, if it wasn't for Operation Flinders, I would have ended up in jail. That's the impact the program can have, and this is a young lad from Gawler who went back 8 times as a mentor. Thank you very much, and happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Robran? Yep. Councillor White.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Robran, for your presentation. I guess from a council perspective, is there anything we can be doing to promote the program, or any suggestions you might have that us as a council could be doing?
Yeah, I guess there's 2 elements to it. There's the financial element. Let's be honest, to run our program, we're a not-for-profit charitable organisation. We receive 15% of our funding through the state government. So any funding opportunities through council would be that we might be able to become aware of would be greatly appreciated. If there's connections and engagement with the schools and the school leadership or the school principals to encourage their schools to get involved in our program, the more young people we can serve, the better. So, as I said, the 3 schools we have had in Gawler over the years, Xavier are back on board next year, so we'd love to see all the schools from Gawler involved in our program and nominating their young people.
Thank you. Councillor Shanks.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I was just interested, would you be interested in giving a presentation to our Youth Advisory Committee, in the next meeting next year sometime? I wouldn't mind having a discussion offline if you're interested.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and have done so with other councils that we have had some engagement with, that we've had some support from around 15, 16 other councils.
They really appreciate that.
Very happy to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Robran. Any other questions? No. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Robran. Tanya Ramsey.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors.
Just bring the mic down. You're
vertically challenged. Story of my life. My deputation today is in opposition to the lease and the construction of the Telco Tower at 70 Hemmerford Road, Gawler East. Obviously, we've had a brief discussion about it, but I will be disputing Indara's application and specific criteria of the following. Major development is happening in the area. It's to provide new and improved coverage. It provides much needed voice and data services. It's vital. Their search for other locations has been robust. Co-locations are unsuitable. They've sought maximum separation from residents, yet admits in the submission also that it borders on, comprises mainly of, is in close proximity to residential dwellings, will not be a significant generator of nuisance or noise, will not result in any negative impacts on the natural environment or ecology, will have minimal impact on the community, it will complement the character of the neighbourhood, and it is designed to visualise the visual impact. They state that the tower will be located at the rear of the property, away from the residential dwellings. Listed is 70 Hemmerford Grove, but the location is in fact Marion Drive. Closest position to the largest amount of residential dwellings. In 2018, Optus's application for the tower on 1 Main North Road included 6 other locations. In those descriptions, all locations near residential dwellings were deemed unsuitable. As per APANZA, the industry code requires the taking into account of community-sensitive locations, defining those locations to include land uses such as residential areas, childcare centres and other vulnerable locations. By Indara's own admission of residential locality, it clearly categorises the Hemmerford Reserve as a community sensitive. The apparent robust search only included 2 locations, one automatically negated as it was a childcare centre, and the research has shown me that 5 locations are the average on applications. So was there really a search or just a box to tick and say it was attempted? As submitted, the intention to resolve the coverage gap is in the south-east section of Gawler East. According to Google Maps, the forum used in this application, the south-east location is specifically the new development of Springwood. I also draw attention to the fact that on any pictorial submissions, they omit the vision of the specific Springwood area. This is their pictures, this is the actual area. The omission of such information and the recognition of Springwood as the south-east, the co-location of Cowbeaver, 5118041, that was assessed as unsuitable, will in fact be extremely suitable. It's a 40-metre developed tower with the ability to add on higher ground in the direct vicinity on the south-east section of Gawler East. The development, demand, data and coverage needed not for the current areas, but the southern eastern Springwood area. There are vast greenscape areas, undeveloped, of higher elevations that would be perfect fit to meet the submission. My suspicion here is that there is an intentional attempt to divert the attention off of Springwood for financial reasons. To describe the service as vital would indicate as a detrimental sense of necessity. Fibre to homes, emergency contact from any provider and a freedom to choose your own voice carrier say the services on the developed Gawler East are sufficient and undisrupted. The zone conditions of 70 Hemmerford Grove are rural zoning. It specifically states that limited goods, services and facilities must enhance rather than compromise rural residential amenities. How would a 120 metre squared, 2.7 metre high, grey chained, prison-like enclosure housing a 26.4 metre tower loaded with triangular radio wave structures enhance a rural reserve? Have no negative physical, visual, ecological impact on the area. Open landscapes replaced by a metal monstrosity because it's painted grey. That's what they claim. A constant apparent domestic air conditioner operating day in and day night during warmer months, along with the hum of radio waves 24/7, not being a nuisance. Sparse vegetation hiding a 12-metre metallic cube. The impact is immense. Hemmerford Reserve is the closest reserve to the Gawler Hospital, making it a rescue helicopter landing pad. The location of the tower would potentially prevent the community from having these essential services when required. Many residents feel strongly that the increased RF emissions in the vicinity of their homes will have a negative long-term health impacts, both physically and mentally. There is much debate on the emissions of EME, and Indara will only provide information that supports their application, but for every supporting document, there are many against. Compliance does not protect the public. It is an admission that something has to be said. The application is not acceptable. There is no way, with good conscience and evidence, the approval of a lease or submission on Hemmerford Grove Reserve for the purpose of a telecommunications tower should be given by Gawler Council. The description of purpose proposed by Indara is dramatic, extreme and ridiculous. Their intent to support the community is distinctively flawed and offensive. The manipulative creative writing is cunning and underhanded, and I implore you all to apply your due diligence when the time arrives and decline the application of lease to Indara. The submission goes against many acts and regulations, as proven throughout this deputation. Your community relies on you. Your community needs you to say no. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Tanya. Okay, Tony Piccolo. Thank you. Tony Piccolo.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, that's a hard act to follow, isn't it? Well done. Thank you, Your Worship. and council for this opportunity to address you tonight. First, I'd just like to start with thanking the council for the contribution it made to the overall success of the Villawood Gawler Christmas Parade. And so the council, through its financial contribution and also support, made that event a success with the community committee and also other private donations. But tonight I'm here to represent the Gawler and Gawler and Barossa Jockey Club. As a result of a change in its rating policy this year, the Jockey Club's rates increased by over 100%. I'm not here to argue against that change in policy. That change in policy is the prerogative of the council if it wishes to make that decision. What I'm here to say, though, is to talk about the implementation of that policy, where the Jockey Club's rates went from $30,000 approximately to $71,000 approximately in 1 year. So their rates increased by over $40,000 during the 2023-24 year. This decision has a significant negative impact on the operations of the club. The club now has to review, for example, its part-time employment for the year to see if it can actually balance its budget. So, as I said, I'm not here to say that that policy is not within your prerogative to make. What I'm here to say, though, I think it should be implemented should be staged over a period of time. And so the actual, it could be, because one big increase in 1 year, in my view, is quite oppressive and unreasonable. So if the council made a decision to review that and decided to implement it over a 5-year period, that seems like a long time, but it still means the Jockey Club will have a 20% increase every year, plus any additional rate increase you make each year from here on. So even though you would spread it over 5 years, it would still be quite a burden on the club, but that's something which the club said it could at least then modify its budgets over time and adjust its budgets to actually balance them. By actually implementing it over a number of years, it would enable the club to absorb and adjust its budget to minimise the negative impact of this rate increase. In my view, it would be a fair and reasonable outcome for both the Gawler and Barossa Jockey Club and the council. Firstly, the Jockey Club can, like I said, would be able to adjust its budgets over the next 5 years to absorb those increases and make necessary adjustments. And secondly, the council would still implement its policy. It's clear that council wants to change its policy. As I said at that up front, it's entitled to do that, but I don't think it should do it in a way which is, in my opinion, oppressive or quite unreasonable. An increase in rates of over 100% in 1 year would be nobody would say it was unreasonable. When I think the average rate rose by 4% or thereabouts, 4 or 5%, their rates went up by 95% more than the average rate. So it is. We also have to remember it is a volunteer-run organisation. It provides an important service to this community in both the employment it provides, but also recreational opportunities, and also manages an important site to the actual town itself in terms of its entry statement to this town. For those reasons, I would really respectfully ask that the council review that decision and see if it could be implemented over a 5-year period.
Thank you. Deputy Councillor Shanks.
Thank you, Mayor. I've just noticed my thing isn't changed yet. But
No.
Through you, Mayor, we'd just be able to get a little bit of an update on what consultation was done with the Jockey Club in regards to
Sharon?
their change in policy. And also, just on the back end of that, if are we potentially going to see some other deputations coming forward on other similar groups where we've changed the policy?
If you'd like to provide a response, Sharon Perkins.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor, through the Mayor. So as part of the budget process, a review of all the discretionary rebates was undertaken, and all the recipients of discretionary rebates were advised that review was going to be undertaken in an email. I think it was around about the 27th of April. And effectively that discussion was part of budget reports that went to council to sit there and say that that assessment was undertaken, and it was recommended that the criteria upon which those discretionary rebates had been granted were no longer relevant and effectively didn't comply with the requirements of the Act. So they were advised that it was being in the council report, and obviously that they had the opportunity to come to council from that perspective, and it was done through the budget process.
Yes, Councillor Kosh.
Just want to clarify, it wasn't a change of policy, was it? It was just an application of an existing policy, is that right?
It was an application of an existing policy.
So it wasn't a change of policy?
It was the discretionary rebate, and you assessed that they weren't eligible. Is that correct, Sharon? Is that correct, Sharon?
Yes, that's correct. So effectively it was just as a process of a good governance in reviewing whether those discretionary rebates and the criteria that those discretionary rebates were provided were still met from a local government perspective, so yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Thank you, Mr Piccolo. Okay, right. Moving on to item 5, declarations of interest. Yes.
Yes, Mayor, I would. I have a material code conflict in item 10.7, and I'll explain myself at that point.
A material conflict?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Thank you. We'll deal with that. Yes, Councillor Lorna.
I believe I have a material conflict for item 19.1, which I'll disclose at that time. For the Norma.
19.1, material?
Yes.
Yes. Councillor White?
Thanks, Mayor. I've got a material conflict for item 10.5.
10.5, material. We'll deal with that when we get to the item. Councillor, did you have your hand up, Nathan? Yep.
Yeah, declaring an interest in 19.1. I'll be declaring a general.
A general?
Yeah, I'll speak to that when we get to the item.
Are you on the board? You're a proxy member. I'm just going to ask the governance team around proxy members.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Redmond. The conflicts of interest outlined in the Act doesn't actually give any provision for a deputy member. It doesn't reference it. Material conflict of interest applies if you are on a board, incorporated board.
So if you are a board member or even a proxy member.
Yes, yeah, the Act doesn't differentiate between a deputy member or a proxy member. There's no stipulation. It just says if you are
I would recommend, I'm not going to tell you how to deal with your conflict. However, I'd suggest you pay attention to the governance advice, Councillor Shanks.
Yeah, look, I appreciate that. At this point in time, I'm still just going to do a general. When we get to the item, I'll revisit the matter.
Okay,
thank you. And I appreciate the advice.
Thank you. All right, okay. Right. Okay. Right. So no adjourned items, no petitions, confirmation of minutes. 28th of November. Yes, Councillor Hughes. Yeah, you wish to move that way and you wish to second Councillor White. Any discussion? If not, I'm going to...
Thanks, Mayor. Just in regards to the minutes, there were 2 ballots called during the meeting. The first was for the nomination of Deputy Mayor. The second was the CEO PMP meeting. I just noticed in the minutes it wasn't recorded that a ballot was called and the nominees listed. I just was going to seek advice whether that should be included, just because it was included for the Deputy Mayor item. So that was item 10.7.
So that should be included. Thank you for that clarification, Councillor White. That should be included as a ballot, as a secret ballot. Can you add that in? At the minutes confirmed with amendments to being the secret ballot for the the CEO. Yep. And
for council member appointments to the
PMP. I think we should put Performance Management Panel, not PMP. Thank you. I think that covers that. Yeah. You happy to second that way?
Thanks, Mayor. It was already recorded for the Deputy Mayor point in the minutes. It was just missing for the CEO PMP point.
It was only missing for the CEO.
Yeah, which was item 10.7.
Yeah. So if you can take out the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks.
amended to include.
We'll just take that out.
Amended to include.
Just take out Deputy Mayor. Thank you. That's correct now. Okay, so we've got a mover and a seconder. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes? There be none. I think we clarified that. Now we go to decision reports, and I'm on page 5 of 55. Digital wayfinding signs. Deputy Councillor Shanks, you had something you wish to say?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, I'd actually like to move to lay this one on the table, if I could, Mayor. I'd like to thank Wendy.
Formal motion, so we don't debate on formal motions.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted. Do I give a reasoning, Mayor? I just. I'll pick up in the.
I'll allow you to put your reasoning why you're moving a formal motion.
Yeah.
However, there's no debate on formal motions.
No worries. Yeah. So the reason being is just around reading through the report, which thank you, Wendy, for the report. I think there's some legal matters that it might be beneficial to discuss in confidence. And also the other reason being the very person that moved the motion, the action, the report is also away. So laying it on the table, I don't think does anything at this point in time. So I'd just like to move that way and come back fresh in the new year with maybe some more questions, some more answers.
So we've got a formal motion that the question lie on the table. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lorna. There'll be no discussion. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? You have to vote. I'll do that again. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It is carried. Thank you. So that deals with that one. Now we go to 10.2. Councillor Hughes. Yes?
Yeah, I'd like to make some changes to this motion to look at extending the excuse me, the time frame.
because the Christmas time is really difficult to actually get consultation, as Mr Shackley said in the presentation. And I think this is really important to get it right, to get the standards right, especially with the number of errors. And it shouldn't be that difficult to extend the Minister to extend the consultation, and maybe look at having that public meeting to actually be part of the process.
Are you suggesting some extra wording?
Yes, please, along those lines.
Okay, so what is your extra wording?
I don't think we should be endorsing the submission. Well, I think we should be asking for extension in the consultation process due to the Christmas period.
So notes the report.
Yep.
Delegates to the you tell me what you want to put in this motion.
So I want to ask the Minister for an extension in the consultation process.
Request the Minister extend the consultation process to when?
I suppose like the middle of February at least.
Okay, so to the middle of February?
Yeah, 14th of February, something like that.
You tell me what you want to put in there?
As part of that process, to hold a public meeting as well. That time extension.
So as part of the consultation process, to hold a community meeting?
Yes.
A community meeting? Is that
That's right, and invite the...
might be a separate dot point.
Yep.
It might be a separate dot point.
Yeah, that might read a lot easier.
So we might, and as part of, as part of the consultation process, a community meeting of relevant parties?
Yes, well, it'd be of all parties.
Relevant stakeholders?
Yes, and stakeholders, yeah.
Of relevant stakeholders? We'll just allow the minute taker to catch up. No, you're doing well, stakeholders. Okay. Do you want the Heritage SA to be there or not? Or just staff? Or just staff?
Yeah, and invite Heritage SA. I'm sure they'd come along.
Extend an invitation to Heritage SA. Extend. No, I don't want. I'll deal with Councillor Hughes first because it's his motion. As part of the hold a community meeting with relevant stakeholders, and extend an invitation to Heritage SA. Is that correct?
Yeah.
To Heritage SA. Delegates to the Chief Executive Officer to write to Heritage SA to ask for an extension.
That's right, yeah.
To attend. Delegates to the Chief Executive Officer to ask for an extension.
Yes, please, yep.
Okay, if you'd like to, can you read that out, please?
Yeah, I can't
I'll ask the CEO to read it out.
Thanks, CEO.
Thank you, CEO.
Through the Chair, the recommendation as currently drafted says, 1, notes this report. 2, request the Minister extend the consultation period to 14 February 2024, I think it should say. As a part of the consultation process, hold a community meeting with relevant stakeholders and extend an invitation to Heritage SA to attend. And 4, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to write to the Minister to request an extension for the consultation period to 14 February 2024. And that's currently it.
Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Hughes?
Just checking, the 14th of February, would that be doable to actually fit that public meeting in? Or should it be extended to the end of February maybe, just to make sure?
It's your motion.
Yeah, I might make it to the end.
End of February?
Yeah.
End of February? It
Yeah.
just gives a bit more time
Yes,
for staff to
yeah.
ascertain when to do a community meeting?
Yeah.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Clearly a democratic process, and the resolution would be the resolution that council agrees to. But my only suggestion or observation would be you may want a point 5, which says in the event that you don't secure 2, 3 as outcomes, that you want the submission council has drafted, which I was going to suggest could be modified to be generally in accordance with the submission that Mr Shackley and Gihar provided, because there's some very good suggestions in there which I think we could easily incorporate. I don't want a situation where you don't get what you want and B, we don't put a submission in at all.
Okay. Just say those words again, Andrew. Just say those words again. So, in the event...
This is a test, isn't
in
it?
In the event...
In the event that council does not secure an extension of time for further engagement on the heritage standard, that the draft submission provided at attachment, I think it was A, wasn't it? At attachment A, modified to be generally consistent with the Gihar submission, GEHA submission, tabled 12th of December, will be provided to Heritage SA for their consideration. I'm just paraphrasing.
Incorporated?
Yes, incorporated into the council submission.
Provided at attachment.
I think it was A or 1.
Needs to make sense,
Was it 1?
including EHA submission tabled 12th of September, be incorporated into the document,
yes.
into the heritage standard,
Correct.
the submission,
And
into
be,
the submission.
and be authorised for the CEO to issue that submission accordingly.
Okay. Are you... sit down, Adrian. Okay. So there was an extra bit that you said, Andrew, if you'd like to just say that again. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sorry. We'll just ask the CEO and the minute taker to wordsmith. I think this is a good compromise action. Ask for an extension of time. Ask for a community meeting. In the event the council does not secure an extension of time for further engagement, the draft submission provided, incorporate feedback from the What does EHA stand for? Gihar, right. Isn't it the Friends? It's the Friends of Churchill. Yeah, it's not a Gihar submission. So it's the Friends of Churchill rather than a Gihar. Yeah. Friends of Churchill. Be finalised, no, go up. I can't see it. Okay. Be finalised, be incorporated into the submission, be incorporated into the submission. Is that what you wanted? Yeah. Be incorporated into the submission. Yeah. Yeah. And I think submission, full stop, full stop. Sorry? Okay, yep, all right. If you're happy, are you comfortable with how this is being worded? Okay. Issue the submission to Heritage just subject to any minor clerical amendments. In the event that the council does not secure, I think you need to put that again, authorise the CEO to issue the submission, because otherwise it reads a little bit funnily. You might want to incorporate that into the 0.5. Yeah, because it sort of... Yeah. Yeah. No, you don't need the, no. Authorise the CEO, Yeah. What are you doing? Oh, right, okay. Okay, yeah, I think it needs to be in the one paragraph, and the CEO to issue the submission, yeah, so that it fits in the one paragraph. Councillor Hughes, are you comfortable with that?
And thank Council and the CEO for helping with the words. Just speaking to it quickly, I do think it's really important to get this document right. During the election period, there was and even for quite a while, we've heard that the standards are a document that's really much needed to be updated and usable for Churchill. There are concerns about some of the development that is going on, and I think the standards will help clarify that work. I'd be really surprised if the timelines weren't extended. I think that would be a sensible approach. So, in the Council's hands. Thanks.
You happy to second Councillor Hennessy? Do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do. But just before that, can I just seek clarification through you, perhaps, to the acting CEO? I understand that this is in a Heritage SA process, and while I understand that the Council has stepped up in assisting them to do the community consultation through a letter drop, is it really for us to hold that community meeting, or should it be in Heritage SA as outlined in point 3? So at the moment it reads like Council will hold that community meeting, and that may be appropriate, but I just was seeking some feedback.
I think it is appropriate for Council to do it in consultation with Heritage SA.
Sure, but what happens if Heritage SA does not turn up?
Well, we can't force them to turn up. We can't force them. That it's their prerogative if they wish to turn up. And I think that with council staff here, planning staff, I think that we could encourage them to come, and I think they would come, Helen. I think they would come. I think if they knew that they were going to get stronger standards, I don't think that they'd be averse to coming.
Okay, well, on that basis, yes, I'm happy to second it. And to speak to it, I too was unable to make the briefing. I did listen to it online, and I was a little concerned at the timelines expressed by the Heritage SA staff. They wanted this back very quickly so that they could reissue it in February and then move on to do all the other guidelines they need to do across the state. I think my concern with that is they risk embarrassing their own minister, who several times has assured residents through the election campaign that good community engagement will happen. Holding one briefing and 2 quick sessions on the same day is, as we know, not sufficient community engagement. Reading through the document, it is so full of holes you could call it Swiss cheese. Historically, it's wrong. And if the community can contribute to Heritage SA having a document which, in their words, they want to make sure is robust enough to stand up in court, they need to be able to listen to the community. I think the proposal that Councillor Hughes has put is a very good one. I think the input that you're hearing from the Friends of Churchill And this will allow other areas of Gawler that has concerns as well to understand what guidelines will be and how they will be implemented. Again, as Mr Shackley said, in a community that is very distrustful at the moment of planning decisions around, be they mobile towers or they be heritage areas. So I urge my colleagues to help support this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Sample.
Thank you. Yes, I understand clearly what Councillor Hennessy said, and the acting CEO organised a meeting, or whoever did, with what I reckon was the most uninteresting meeting I've ever been to, where 3 major officials from Heritage SA were in attendance. There was lack of councillors and, most importantly, lack of people in the gallery. Now, if this is such a huge issue, and why I am not negative, I'll support where councillors want to go with this, but we have just been hit with a problem of a Taj Mahal on the bottom of Lyndoch Road confronting our beautiful heritage main street. We couldn't do anything about it. It's now happened. Wait till it's painted. It'll be painted in the next few weeks, and then you'll get plenty more phone calls. But there's also a block of land across the road. I've had a few gossip chats that have been phoned to me and said to me what's going to go there. I think it's about time that we as elected members know what's in the planning department and we know about it before it gets out there. And I'm sorry, if what I've heard is going to go, which I believe council should buy for car parking anyway, which is next to the Masonic Hall, you know, we don't know what's going on, do we? And the Taj Mahal is going to be painted soon, so get ready for more phone calls. So I will support where electors members want to go with this and what the CEO has said, but I don't see any value in it, because we're not only talking of one area, Church Hill area. Gawler has got a lot more heritage places, and as Councillor Hennessy said, this doesn't cover any other heritage places in Gawler. That's just my personal opinion.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Hughes, do you want to wrap up the debate? No? Do you want me to put the motion? Okay, I'm going to... Councillor Hennessy seconded the motion. I'll just put that up. Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It is carried. Thank you. Draft place-based strategy release for engagement. How do you wish to proceed, Council? Councillor Shanks?
Yeah, look, I'm happy to move this way. I think we had a good session. When was it? In April, I believe, where we were able to talk through staff's direction in strategising our play spaces. I'm really sort of liking the way that we're looking at it, and I won't go over it in the full relive the workshop again, but I guess some of the takeaway points is the grading system and really looking at our premium playground areas that might be closer to our town centre, might be closer to our shopping precincts and the like, and then our local playgrounds that are more for the ratepayers that are, you know, within walking distance, and we don't necessarily want to promote tourists going there, but we're providing a level of service for people in those areas. I also wanted to touch on the fact that we're taking advantage of our, I guess, geography, the size of our council area, and we do benefit as ratepayers by being realistically around a 10-minute walk from a play space if we live in Gawler. So I'm liking the approach here, and I do think this is something that we do need to keep momentum on, because yeah, playgrounds are one of those services that we do provide our community, and having an overarching strategy on how we're going to do that, I think is a good way forward, and will feed into some of our other infrastructure management plans that we're working on. more recently. So, yeah, happy to support the motion and thank Hayley and Wendy for the work they're doing in this space.
Seconder, Councillor Valalonga. Thank you. Do you wish to speak at all? No. Thank you. Any other discussion? I saw Councillor Koch and then Councillor Hennessy.
I've got a fair bit I want to talk about. Councillor Hennessy can go first if she likes.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you, Councillor Koch. Thank you very much to the staff. We could hold this up to the state government as an outstanding example of how you engage with your community and come up with a top-notch plan. But a quick comment, please. I still note that we are repeatedly using the term Princess Street Playground rather than the true name of Ayling and Dwyer, Limekiln Park. I understand it is easier for some to talk about parks in terms of their geographical location, but I think given that we have some, so for example, we call it the Apex Park, we don't call it the Julian Terrace. I think where a park has a name and honours some historical fact, be it a donation or whatever, we should call it the proper name. I don't mind it being the Ayling and Dwyer Limekiln Park on Princess Street, but I would like to see that, and I also understand it's very lengthy, but I'd like to see that honoured, please.
Yeah, I think it is appropriate because it was originally called that name, and it used to be a lime kiln, and there used to be a lime kiln there, and so I think it is really important to note the history of that space. Yeah, and I think we're putting up a information board on that. I think that's what Hayley told me, that we were going to put up an information board on the history of the site. So I think that would be quite useful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, Councillor Koch.
Look, I've got a few I want to go through. If people can go to the attachments, I just want to talk to it.
Okay.
So some issues there I've got.
Okay, so just name the pages so that we can follow.
Yeah, 45 of 133. I'm just concerned again that we keep on talking about going into the natural environment and using it as play space when you go into areas you really need to conserve those native areas, because all of a sudden you've got crushing of plants, weeds, erosion, scattering of animals, potentially phytophthora, etc., etc. So I'm just concerned that we've got this fixation on going into natural areas, and we really should be preserving those natural areas. Then on the next one is on page 46. It talks about the integration of Green, Slade Boulevard and Aspire and Trinity. I don't think that's actually happening, because we were looking at having that little running track. There was going to be an integration of that running track with Trinity. That hasn't happened, and I don't know whether that's actually going to happen. Remember there was going to be that sweat track? And now that we're not having soccer and everything else in the middle of it, I think Trinity's just washed their hands of it. So I don't know why that's in there still. I'm concerned when we keep on talking about 1,000 Play Street initiative. I went on site and had a look at that, and what that is just closing off roads so kids can play on the road, which is fine. And we're in here, we're talking about a 2-year trial period, but to close a road is actually quite expensive. We know that. You've got double time and everything else, and we've actually got parks, so I don't know why we're wanting to continue to... I mean, fair enough, you can close the road off, but it just costs a lot of money. It just does. And you've already got play spaces anyway within areas, so I don't know, we just don't use those. Next one is... where is it? Okay, this is page 53, 133. We talk about in here the economic value of recreational activities. And we've had a couple of speakers come in recently talking about recreation and the economic benefit and the multiplier effect. Now, I actually went and had a read of the KPGM report that's referenced there as note 3. And in there, it actually talks about, yes, there is some direct outcomes, but it's really indirect outcomes, which are your economic benefits. So they're actually the avoidance of healthcare costs. That's what the KPGM report actually says. So I'm just concerned when people start saying, if we do all this recreational stuff, you know, it's going to be this multiplier effect and people are going to spend all their money in the shops and they're buying petrol, etc., etc., etc. Well, it's not. It's actually indirect benefits, the health benefits, and that's actually borne out in our community health plan, our regional health plan as well. So I just would hope people would just be mindful of when they start referencing economic benefits for things, because when you actually go down a bit further, it actually talks about how we've actually got high levels of asthma, diabetes, arthritis, health disease, etc., mental health, all those sort of things. So in some respects, we should be investing our money in those things, because that's where we're going to get the outcomes for people, like not spending all our money on active recreation, but maybe the non-organised recreation, because they're the ones. That's where you're going to get the best benefits for your community, I reckon. So I just wanted to just point that out, that that's what's in that document. Yep. Continues on. Yes. Oh, and then I just want to talk about page 60 and new subdivisions and developers. I mean, this is something that I've spoken about for years and years and years, and it does say that, it says that developers, there's a focus has been on playgrounds and not on the wider parklands. Inappropriate construction materials have not been used. Play value has not been optimised and often sanctioned for visual impact, and there is an oversupply of play spaces. People have to remember that developers put in these spaces as marketing gimmicks, basically. And we have to be very careful that we don't roll out all these play spaces or little green spaces continually, and that we have to maintain. And it's not good. It isn't good. It's not integrated into the play spaces of your whole town. Also, there's an inequity in your town where you end up with all these green spaces over here and nothing over there. So that's, I mean, just people, I mean, this is fantastic that's in here, people just recognise it. Because we'll probably endorse this, so we're endorsing those comments. So when it comes back, people should remember these comments and not just, you know, blazingly accept that we're going to have a playground every, 200 metres, which is sort of annoying. And then they expect it to be maintained constantly. And I think, wait a minute. Then 66 of 133, here's our favourite again, the EPDMs. So that's the rubberised soft fall. In one section there, it talks about full rubber soft fall is not appropriate for classifications A, B and C. Then we go on later on and do say it's okay to have it, although it does talk about more access to, access for wheelchairs, etc., etc. So I just want to make sure that we keep a balanced view of those rubbers, because there are environmental issues with those, with disposal and also the construction. And if you look at the research, they can release volatile chemicals. So yeah, so that's just a balancing act we need to be careful about, because it does talk about rubber and other things, bark, etc., bark chips. And it does sort of mention that, which is good. And then just the final thing I want to say is the budget. Is that per year? Is it like 1.8, 2 point something million a year? No. Is that over 10 years or something?
1.79 and 2.24.
Yeah, that's over, so it's not every year.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to clear that.
Will be required over the next 5 years.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Right, that's all I wanted to say.
It also talks about 8.26 million to 10.4 million over the life of the strategy.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I just wanted to clear that up. Yep.
Okay.
That's my comments. Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Shanks. Oh, Councillor Hughes. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Sorry.
That's fine. Endorsing the document and agree with some of Councillor Koch's comments. The nature play areas are normally highly degraded, modified spaces anyway, so just trying to keep out of our better native vegetation or and trying to improve some of those areas would be a really good thing for council to do. And Gawler East, we've got some Lamandra grasslands and things like that we certainly want to have people maybe have boardwalks over the top of it or protect it, but definitely visit. But just being careful. And I think it's really important. We do in Gawler have a lot of NDIS providers. I've got two daughters that now work, one in speech and one in OT in Gawler, and they do use our PlayStation spaces. I think it's really important that we work in with them, also SA Health as well, and there are grant opportunities, and I think if we are doing best practice and working in with the providers as well, I think that's really good. So happy to endorse the document.
Thank you. Councillor White.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, happy to support the officer's recommendation, and I just want to thank staff, Hayley, Wendy and her team for putting this together, and I think just to remind members that we're endorsing this for community engagement, and I'd also like to just commend staff on the community engagement strategy that we've got going here, releasing it over a 10-week period with pop-up sessions in early 2024, and that really targeted communication, I think, is a really great way. We've already seen the success, in particular, how much families jump on board with playground consultation earlier this year. So doing that again next year, I think, could be fantastic. But yes, really would like to just thank staff and looking forward to seeing what the feedback is before it comes back to council in March, where we will endorse it, or hopefully endorse it then.
Thank you. Councillor Shanks, do you want to wrap up the debate?
Just quickly, Mayor, look, I think, mostly positive conversations, because I, again, think we're heading in the right direction. I think the naming stuff did come up in the workshop as well, and we're able to talk that through. I think some of the acknowledgement there from staff, and I'm happy to be corrected here, is, absolutely, I think there is merit to acknowledging those names, but the mere mention of Princess Park or Redbanks Road, as I called that particular one, was around what you can type into Google Maps and what can be found quite simply throughout and consistently as well. But that said, the acknowledgement of the names, I think, was definitely taken on board, a great idea, and it definitely adds a character to these spaces that might have been lost otherwise, to be honest. And I'm actually learning a lot in that space of a playground that I use quite regularly with my family. So again, good discussions had. I think the natural environment point that Councillor Koch pointed out, we did go over that a fair bit in the workshop as well, and it was merely an example of what other local government areas do and what works successfully. That is the same in regards to the shutting of streets, etc. But if the ability's there, there's just a map out process on what would be involved, the locality of the street. Absolutely, there is an expense around shutting streets. The expense drastically changes with what sort of street we're talking about as well. Also, Sweat Track, we touched on Sweat Track. Correct me if I'm wrong, but through you, Mayor, I think we are establishing a trail in a dolomite sort of setup in that area near Aspire. Yeah, correct. So we were able to deliver on an idea. Yes, right. You're correct, Councillor Koch. We didn't actually partner with Trinity on that one. Missed opportunity, in my opinion, but we still delivered on something that we said was a passive exercise opportunity for the area. In regards to economic stimulation, look, I don't want to get into the weeds on that because I think that's a sporting infrastructure upgrade comment that has been made. But yes, promoting activation throughout our children, it does start with play equipment, play space, open space, getting them active, and then it does have the potential to partner and then grow into sporting infrastructure upgrades and grassroots sporting programs that, again, promote that active lifestyle that I think we can all agree has major economic benefits. Whichever way you want to define them is a discussion that I'd love to be able to have in the future when we do start mapping out the strategy in regards to that particular matter, that have highlighted some dollar figures that I think have been well represented. But look, in this particular circumstance, I'd love to be able to support this strategy, and again congratulate staff on their approach, because again, credit where credit's due, and we can agree we want our kids, we want our families to be active moving forward.
The debate is closed. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. 10.4, terms of reference. 10.4, terms of reference. We're not doing 10.5. We're doing 10.4. Yep.
I just, seeing as we've got a guest in the room, Mayor, and there's no other members of the public here, I was just going to move that we move 19.1 forward. I think that would be kind to our guest, and we can potentially go into conference, then come back out and resume the agenda.
Okay, you want to move that forward? 19.1, seconded by Councillor Shanks. 19.1. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. So 19.1 be moved forward. So we go to we have a officer's recommendation on page, there's no page, no page. I've got, at the end of our agenda, 19.1, we've got an officer's recommendation to go into confidence. What are you doing, Sharon? Right, okay. How do you wish to proceed, Council? You happy to move that way? Do you wish to explain?
Yes, I'm happy to move that we go into confidence because we'll be discussing items of commercial information of a confidential nature, not being a trade secret, the disclosure of which would reasonably be expected to prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied the information or to confer a commercial advantage on a third party, and would on balance be contrary to the public interest, specifically the salary range and other contract conditions for the independent chairperson of Norma.
Somebody could shut that door, thank you. think we... I think we might get started. I think we might get started, everyone. Yeah. Can everyone take their seats, please? Can everyone take their seats, please? Can everyone take their seats, please? I don't have the gavel. It's not here. They don't provide it to me, so, you know, I don't use it. Yeah, well, you know. Thank you. Okay, so we're back to 10.4, terms of reference. Council adopts the terms of reference contained in attachment 1. Council appoints the following council members to the Chief Executive Officer Recruitment Selection Panel: Mayor Redman, Deputy Mayor Davies, and 3 other councillors. So I'll hand over to the returning officer, who is the CEO, acting CEO, who will undertake the recruitment process.
We would need to have nominations for the position to be moved to second, is that correct? Or is it a secret ballot?
Preferential.
It's preferential.
Yeah, preferential.
I'll put that to the table.
So we hand out...
Councillor David
Hughes.
Well, yes. We probably need a secret ballot, I think.
Do you want a secret ballot?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Have we got the slips? Okay. All right. So you've nominated David Hughes. David Hughes, Helen, you've put your hand up, Helen.
Yeah, I'm going to self-nominate.
And Councillor Shanks. Yeah. And you. And you, yeah. Councillor Lorna, yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's for the CEO selection panel. Yeah. Okay. And Councillor Solomon. Yep. He's self-nominated. He's not here. Well, Helen nominated him. Helen nominated him. You did. Mm. Okay, so okay. Councillor Hennessy nominated Councillor Solomon. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go. Yeah, it's there. Councillor Samble nominated Councillor Hughes. Yep, absolutely. Okay. Oh, not really. Not really. I don't think we need to. Yeah, we'll just nominate. I get to vote. Thank you. Okay. pick three. Pick three. Okay. Thank you. All good? All good? Lovely. So we'll let that process happen. In the meantime, can we do something else? No, we probably can't. We probably can't. We have to wait. Yeah. We have to wait. Thank you. We have to pick people who are on the list. We're going to run out of time. We're doing it again. I don't know why. I don't know why we're doing it again. Okay. It's pretty easy. Hello? Hello? Don't you want my vote? You don't want my vote?
The votes are in. So, Helen Hennessy, Councillor Shanks and Councillor Warner. Top 3 votes. Congratulations.
You move, Councillor Samble? Okay. Okay. Moved by Councillor Samble, seconded. Councillor Vallelonga. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I'm on page 34. Material conflict, and you wish to leave the room? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor White. We have an officer's recommendation. It receives the Gawler Business Development Group's annual report and notes that the Gawler Business Development Group has met the reporting requirements under item 10.3 of its funding agreement with Council. Moved by Councillor Vallelonga, seconded by Councillor Hennessy. Any discussion? If not, I'll put that motion. Oh, sorry.
I think it's important with the fantastic event the other night that we had, you know, with the thousands of people and people fainting because of the heat and everything. Did anybody actually look at the Gawler fire truck?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Did you see the front of the Gawler fire truck?
Yeah, I did.
Printed Gawler, the best of town and country. I had to say it.
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I did see that, Brian. You would have been very happy.
I was as happy as a pig, yeah.
I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. We'll bring Councillor White back in. We have a monthly finance report, 10.6. I'll just wait for Councillor White to come back in. So we have a monthly finance report moved by Councillor Vallelonga, seconded by Councillor Samble. If there's no further discussion, yep.
Sorry, through you, Mayor, just a couple of quick questions if I could.
Yes.
I know that the recommendation there that we are receiving the information considered as per section 59. Can I just have some quick clarity around the reporting that is needed on a legal or act sense? We receive monthly reports, we receive quarterly reports, we receive annual reports, we receive annual performance reports.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering in regards to which ones are legislatively required to do so?
We're not required to do the monthly reports. It's just good financial governance to do monthly financial reports so that it keeps us up to date.
Yes.
It keeps us relevant, and I know the Audit Committee also were really keen on us getting monthly reports, and I know that they were wanting them to be a little bit more robust. I think they are robust. Any other comments, Sharon? No? No? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So if I could just speak to it just quickly,
Yeah,
Mayor,
sure.
if I could.
Yeah.
I don't disagree in providing these year-to-date updates. I think they're quite beneficial. I'm going back through a couple of different reports over the term last financial year. The thing that I'm just struggling to, I guess, align is what's being reported on that monthly and then what's then being updated on the performance report come the end of the financial year. And I'm really, to be honest, finding it a little bit hard to track some figures, and I'll use an example. We have the report that's templated exactly like this, and in this particular report, being the December meeting for the November month, we are reporting a year-to-date variance of $459,000 on employee expenses. Good thing, right? Obviously, you know, we're saving money there. That's the year-to-date tracking of, I'm putting that down to actuals. When I do the same for the monthly reports in regards to 2023, I track those actuals, and we get to the end of I think the August report for June or June report for May, and it's tracking the year-to-date expenditures was around 61,000. We were over budget at that point in time. Then when we get to our performance summary, where we summarise everything and we put it all out in the wash, the year-to-date actual that we're over budgeting on employee costs is actually $613,000. Now, I don't necessarily believe that this is wrong. It's just an ability of what has been reported through and then what we're reporting on the same category and what is merged together. And again, I acknowledge there's a simple answer that I can see Sharon ready to jump in to give justification to. And I don't doubt that there is a reasonable... if I can just finish just quickly, but what I'm trying to say is if there's some consistency all the way through, then the tracking is a lot easier to do, whether it be monthly report, quarterly report, end of year financially, performance summary reports. that consistency makes that interpretation of data a lot easier, and then we don't have the jumping in of an executive manager right now to explain the $61,000 changing to 613 is what I'm trying to point out.
Sharon?
Mayor, through the Mayor. So in relation to, I suppose from a legislative perspective, so we are required to do budget reviews and we report. So effectively, so this report here, when we talk about budget here, we will actually report against the latest adopted budget, which would be your reviewed budget. So effectively, this year-to-date budget would take into account effectively the budget adjustments that you considered and adopted at the last meeting in November. So we'll always continue to report against the year-to-date revised budget from a monthly reporting perspective. The annual summary report, which is a legislative report as well, which is effectively the fourth budget report, but what that actual report does is that then that report that report goes back to reporting against adopted budget, not necessarily your revised budget, which we are continually to reporting on as we actually go through. So that's where that variation is, and that's just a quirk of the legislation. So from that perspective, so that's probably where that confusion comes, because you know we start off with a budget for the first quarter, we report against the adopted budget because that's what the budget is at that point in time. Then for the next 9 months, from a monthly reporting perspective, we report against whatever the revised budget is. And then come end of year, when we're reporting, we're doing that financial summary, we have to then go back to the adopted budget.
Can I ask if you can put that in an email for all elected members? I think that might be quite useful. Yeah, that'd
can
be
do
really
that.
good. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation. And as I started with the caveat of, I know there is one, and you know there might be a simple column that gets added to this template as well. If we're hell bent on reporting it monthly, you know, being able to show the adopted budget of June and then revised budget, which is the year to date, side by side would also be handy to see. But again, happy to have that conversation offline to just try to help with my understanding of communication. What we're trying to go out publicly and communicate there. Just on page 41 of 55, we've got the financial costs. Firstly, Sharon, thank you for the clarification around parking grant money. I know elected members saw some emails that I was circulating. I was purposely circulating them together so you can understand the questioning and some answers. With this financial costings, I'm just trying to understand when we start seeing a positive year-to-date variance, because my understanding of us parking grant funding gave us the ability, which was a good move, I believe, but you know, parking $7.5 to $8 million worth of grant funding that we weren't necessarily expecting actually allows us to offset the interest that we would have paid otherwise, should we have not got that grant funding. So I'm just wondering, through the monthly financial reports, I've probably missed the window of when we would show it, because now we're probably starting to expend it. But I guess a little bit around that in parking the money actually obviously has that positive.
I might actually take that question on notice and incorporate that in an email, if that's okay, because we're probably going to run out of time. No. And
no worries.
if that's okay,
Councillor
Shanks,
more than happy.
We can share that amongst Sharon. Will incorporate that question and circulate that to elected members. That would be lovely. Thank you for those questions.
Just no worries.
Thank you. Right. So we've got I'm going to put that motion. Yes.
Can I just ask the question? Sadly, we've lost a number of staff, and when staff leave, they've got super and other expenses and that. Is that written into, on page 40 here, into employee expenses? And
I'm sure it is.
you know,
Council.
That's where it's written into the form.
Sharon's nodding her head, saying yes.
She's nodding her head. Well, that's great. Yeah, that's good.
I think that's great. Thank you for that question, Brian. No, that was a very good question that you asked. A very good question. Yeah. So I'm going to put that motion that's up on the board. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. So, Councillor Hennessy.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I have a material conflict, so I will choose to deal with it by leaving the room.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Who wants to move the motion? You want to move the motion? Yep. Thank you.
Move the motion because the candidate and Councillor Hennessy has been involved with this council for many, many years, instrumental in a lot of new programs through our libraries and so forth here, and very passionate about that. So I would ask if elected member to support.
Seconded by Councillor Vallelonga. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Information reports. Got that, got that, got that, got that. Okay. Okay. Information reports. Council maintained bin network. Public bins. Note that a report will be presented to Council in 224 with further detail provided about improving the public bin network, including split waste. Kosh, are you going to move the motion?
I'd move the motion and just like to thank Wendy for the information that she forwarded on earlier today. Very good information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And seconded by Councillor Vallelonga. Any discussion? Councillor White and Councillor Shanks.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to also thank Wendy and staff for this and look forward to the feedback we receive from the community consultation in the second quarter of next year. I think this is an area that clearly has been historically, we've been wanting to investigate a bit more into. It's obviously been an appetite of council since 2021, but I presume there's been a lack of resources to do that, but now it's coming to the table. I think it's really exciting because even though there might not be something we think is glamorous, there are definitely a necessity to the community, and doing a stock take and seeing what the community thinks of them, I actually think is quite exciting. So looking forward to that in the second part of next year.
Thank you. Councillor Shanks.
Yeah, just quickly, I don't disagree with any of that, and thank you, Councillor Kosh, for asking for some more information, and Wendy for providing that in the speed that you did. I just wanted to touch on, and again, this isn't a direct crack at Wendy and your team at all. I know you're understaffed. I guess, sorry, I know you're under-resourced in areas, so I just wouldn't mind making a little bit of a request. I know the motion was moved by Councillor Davies back in November 2021. If we do start seeing some of those motions that elected members have moved and their report that's coming, maybe just a touch base with the elected member that moved it and said, look, we were hoping to get that on the agenda within 6 months. It's not going to happen this year. I think will help.
It'd be really nice if council members move motions that actual staff actually talk to the person who moved the motion, because I think that's actually a respectful thing to do. Yeah,
I mean, it's just a communication tip there, that if they are going on for that extra bit of time, it'd be handy to know, because, you know, again, that team environment, sometimes we can even forget in ourselves what motions we've moved and whether or not the intent is captured as well. So, you know, that open line of communication is just a comment I just wanted to make there. But thanks again for the report. Look forward to the information coming through in 2024.
Okay, so if there's no further discussion, I'm going to, Councillor Cush, are you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. External bodies report notes the minutes of the Football and Associated Sporting Clubs Future Infrastructure Needs Working Group. Happy to move that way, Councillor Vallelonga. Do I have a second to Councillor Shanks? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. There's no questions on notice. Questions without notice? No? Yes?
Is it possible to obtain an update on the Pioneer Park area?
Pioneer Park, maybe we'll take that on notice and we'll send that through at the next council meeting, okay? Thank you. No motions on notice, motions without notice. Yeah?
Just given the deputation tonight, I was just wondering if I could move a motion on notice with your approval, Mayor, on a report on a process should council choose to enter into a step-down potential on rate, the rates. So I'm talking about the Jockey Club stuff, and I'm just a report on the process should council...
On the process of the
rating
policy?
Yeah, not necessarily what's happened, but should council choose to enter into an agreement that does step it down over 4 or 5 years opposed to one hit, is there a process available? And I'm sorry for my wordsmithing here. So...
okay.
So, yeah...
The question was... Okay, so we're moving back. Question was taken on notice. That question was taken on notice. Thank you. We go down to motions without notice. So you want a report that staff provide a report to a future council meeting on
a potential process to engage in a step. It's pretty much, yeah, it is a payment plan really, but how do I word it as such?
The report be provided to a future council meeting
of potential options,
outlining the process for a stepped approach for the Jockey Club.
For the Jockey Club's payment of rates.
A stepped approach to the payment of rates. The payment of rates. Well, it's the level of the rate. It's the level of the rate to the payment, not the payment. The level of rates by the Gawler and Barossa Jockey Club. So the level of rates. I think you're right, Sharon.
Oh yes, yeah. Okay.
Level of rates payable by the Gawler and Barossa Jockey Club. Yeah. Okay. That's it.
Yeah. I think that sort of captures the intent there. It's merely just a report to see what process, if we were going to embark on one, given the information that we've got tonight.
Yeah.
See where we go with it.
Yep. You happy to second that?
Yes, I am. I just want to make sure that included in that report is some details of the other organisations that had a rate change, perhaps, and some information about setting precedents. Have we done this before? Where does it put us in terms of a risk? But having said that, I'd like to hear back.
I also think there needs to be an explanation of the discretionary rebate and an explanation of that, Sharon, as well. Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? If not, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Council member attendances. We had a morning tea with staff and council members on the 30th of November with some corporate values and also volunteer level of service, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. I also went to a vigil at the Pocket Park, 16 Days of Activism, and that was a beautifully run service by Sandra Sullivan and the Zonta Club. I went to Woodside Primary for my grandson's Christmas show. Saw Janet Pedler there, that was really nice. I also went to the Gawler and District College ceremony at the Pavilion, annual awards night, and they announced a lot of awards for from junior primary, senior primary, secondary college and senior college. It was actually really well done, really well done. And we cancelled, I spoke at the Gawler Says No to Violence street march at the Big Gum Tree. We didn't walk, we just stayed there because of the rain. The carols were cancelled because of the weather, and that was quite a disappointing, it was a disappointing decision. However, it was the right decision. It was the right decision, and they were very disappointed, the Apex Club. They've worked 6 months on that, and I think that they've done a very good job. So, yes, and on the 17th I'm going to a special pre-Christmas Mass for the Filipino community at St Peter and Paul's Catholic Church next Sunday. So that's me, yes.
As has been mentioned by a number of people in the gallery tonight, the Villawood Christmas Street Parade went down extremely well. I understand that there will be some type of review process in the new year, but and I look forward to it being part of budget discussions about where we go in terms of future funding of all our Christmas functions that happen in the town. But my congratulations to the volunteer committee that put it together and all the people who participated, and the amazing amount of young families that came out that night.
Thank you. Any other? Yes?
Thank you, Mayor Karen. I really think that in the future and for 2024, one of our biggest challenges is getting people in our communities to volunteer. And I'd just like to mention about something that I was part of because of my property up at Tarawi, where I was the MC of the street party, like we had in Gawler, but with only about 1,000 people, and floats. And Tarawi itself has got a committee of 6 persons, and the event that they organised on Saturday night was absolutely quite incredible. And when I did my notes and everything, and Senator Don Farrell was there, Minister Penny, what was her name?
Wong?
Wong? No, not Penny. No,
Penny
Wong.
Pratt.
Penny Pratt,
yeah.
the member for Frome, and it was just amazing. They were there and they just could not. I think they said, I also got texts on my phone from both of them saying, thanks for your input, and so forth. The volunteers, the food vans came from Jamestown. The floats and that, because Jamestown had their Christmas festival the week before. And this weekend coming is the Peterborough one. But the way the communities get together, there's nobody wanting to volunteer. They weren't able to open their visitor information centre where they had lots of souvenirs to sell and all these sort of things. But the event itself went off really well, but if the supporting clubs, and especially the Lions Club, they were well involved, the police and all those sort of things. But I also noticed that in Gawler now, there seems to be a call wherever I go to different things that the volunteers aren't volunteering. So congratulations to all the people that volunteer for various things and so forth. Also attended the street parade, which was just fantastic. The last time that happened was 40 years ago. So it only took 40 years to have another one, and hopefully there'll be more of them. It was certainly fantastic. And attended the Golden Age of Old People Committee yesterday. That went off all right, sort of thing. Is that what we call it, the Golden Age?
Ageing well framework.
Oh, that's near enough,
Working
yeah.
party.
Yeah, we're all old. But I think we've got a challenge with volunteering. I'm not sure why people don't want to volunteer, but and I was just so proud of what they did in the little town of Tarawi, but with 6 persons that actually ran organised the event. So volunteering, I think, is going to be a big thing and a big challenge for us all to get people involved in 2024.
Thank you. If there's no further yes, we're going to run out of time.
Won't be 9 minutes. Speaking of volunteering, I did attend with yourself, Mayor, and other councillors, the volunteers' Christmas dinner that council ran up here, which was fantastic. A fantastic way to acknowledge and thank our volunteers. I do agree with Councillor Samble that there's less people there than previous years, so I think that is going to be a challenge for the whole community, and us as elected members have a role to play in encouraging people to volunteer. But that was a really great night, and always great to acknowledge those that give their time and effort. And then, of course, attended the street parade too, which again was just an incredible spectacle to see the street lined with so many people, and I do need to express my sincere thanks to the organising committee and all those who took part, and also for council staff and for their time and resources. Look forward to seeing how it will grow next year.
Okay, I'm going to close the meeting at 10:22. Thank you. Where are you going, Jim? Oh, where'd you go? What's he doing? Hey? I don't know where he went. Walking the other way. He was meandering around putting his rubbish away.